Welcome back, friends, to Occultists Anonymous, sponsored by Roll20, The Onyx Path, and viewers like you. Thank you to our patrons who support us monetarily. Adele, Al, Alexander, Alstrit, hashtag be nice to Jules. No promises.
Yeah.
Bernie, Buck, Chris, Clara, Doggo DeLune, Dreamscape, Banshee, Emil, Funzosu Ali, George, James, Jenny, John, Josh, Cat Feathers, Klaus, Crazy Man 1772, Mage Cops are the best.
Hey now.
Melissa, Michael, Milo V3, Ms. Grumpy, Moku, Mozart D Minor, Neozard, Noba, Other Guy, Perry, Foog, Porter, Puppeteer, Raging on a Sunday, Riafio, Ryan, Shane, Shexara, Taryn, Thomas, V Descending, Vortex, Falcon, Who Wolves, they don't know, still, come on, and Zoltan.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your support. And for those of you who aren't on the list, we appreciate you too. Thank you for hanging out with us, watching the YouTubes and the Twitch and hanging out on Twitter. We've had like 5 followers on Twitter recently. I'm like, hang on, what are y'all doing? Like, I don't do anything.
This is
on
doing
here.
numbers.
Yeah, this is doing numbers, guys. Yeah, there is a Twitter. I don't really use it too much other than to post our stuff and retweet other cool stuff. So if you want other cool stuff, yeah, come by. When we last left the coven, there were some reveals. They missed. Hang on. Oh, they met Miss Remmington, a older version of Rilla Remmington. In fact, about 5 lifespans ago, or I don't know a good way of saying that, but has gone through 5 different life cycles of herself, awakening multiple times, definitely an Archmage, and doing some that's not how the rules work kind of bullshit. In the process, they also met briefly another Rilla, so there's 3 of them at least, who passed a little note that said, things aren't terrible. I believe the actual note said, as I wrote it down, yeah, we don't serve this Seers. We are all Rilla. Time magic is dumb, and she has her own best interests at heart, but she does not mean you harm. Whether or not that's actually truthful, because it's just a piece of paper.
Isn't that worse?
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep. Yeah, very much not kind of out of everybody's depth, but Miss Remington took them into a nice little Victorian era posh parlor a house parlor, front room kind of thing, not a like whatever, with their clockwork automaton-esque servants and tea and biscuits and cookies and crumpets and other various things that you might have were served, and then I believe tequila and some other hard liquor was requested as revelations of past lives, or not even past lives, just other lives in other timelines, and the fact that up until now, or at least their lives and leading to Purgatory Bluff, were nudged and manipulated so that they would all arrive in Purgatory Bluff to meet their Rilla. So we have Rilla and Miss Remington, and to be here for Rilla. And kind of mostly worked out. Everybody else awakened, though we do have Jules here who went to an awakening but failed, or bailed on it, however you want to look at it, and is only a sleepwalker. And we pick up in said parlor on nice comfy couches, and it is a very lived-in home. The wagon and horses are out in a posh English garden, munching on what appears to be real grass.
Theo's not sitting, just...
And it's true.
Theo will pour another glass and slam it back. It's like 4 or 5 she's had now.
You want to roll a stamina for me?
Sure.
Stamina, composure, right?
Yes, thank you. I was like, what would be the second step? But yeah,
Constitution check.
yeah. She's got that composure.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh yeah, look at that.
But we just finished with Miss Remmington suggesting that she has gifts, bribes, however you want to look at it, for all of you as thanks for, in those past lives, your times as her mentor on different paths, capital P, that she had walked. I think we kind of paused there. I'm trying to remember if we had a specific last comment. I do know that she had mentioned to Theo that she had a plan, but I don't remember if we had any further comments or discussion at that point.
Well, a few things we established, including the fact that the coven would not be together if it weren't for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's the polite way to say it.
Yeah, true. I mean that's the operative significance for Cloak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because he's like,
Yeah.
to be explicit, right? He's like, why are me and the people I care about stuck in Colorado with
Right.
all these people we don't relate to?
Right.
So,
It's
oh,
her
you
duty.
did this.
What's his sort of processing of that at the
Yeah,
moment?
we can go into that then. I think
I mean, we can kind of just,
so-
if we want to do out of character a second,
Yeah.
real quick, before we jump into like an actual role playing. Like, I'm kind of curious.
Sure.
From a behind the eyes perspective of what everyone's like initial take on this whole thing is.
Cloak, in the back of his mind, this whole time, these years that he's been with everyone, he's thought that this is just one more context for triumph through adversity. Like, I have to be stuck with these people who resent me and who take my enforcement of boundaries as an indictment of their own preferences. And I have to find some way to build a good life for the people I care about and for myself and grow in wisdom, even though they don't like me. He's like, well, this is the path I walk, right? This is the path I was supposed to walk. So this is necessarily one aspect of it. So he's settling with the fact that he would have done things differently if it weren't for her. He would have chosen to interact with people differently if it weren't for her. And he would have thought about the world differently. He would have been perhaps more optimistic. He wouldn't have been as fatalistic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to think about what that means for his next directions and also for what responsibilities he has for his relationship with the other members of the coven.
Actually, it does bring up an out of character point. It also means somewhere in there, while Cloak was having his awakening, there was a nudge, something that sent them teleporting to Colorado.
Exactly.
Right.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's because that's
a nudge.
Yeah, that's the only
Also,
thing that would
like-
have happened. Mhm.
Wasn't part of it your mentor dying?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah, so in her timeline, he lived.
Mhm.
Yep.
So she had
He
to
did.
fix that.
Well, notably in our timeline, the mentor never came to rescue Cloak, because Cloak, if I remember correctly, you never got out of the room.
Nope.
You were
was
stuck in
in
the
there for
room
his
and teleported.
initiation.
Yep.
Yeah.
During the initiation.
All you know, you're still in that room. Wake
All
up and
right,
have a
well,
snow globe moment.
Chris jumped to the end of my notes, so all right, I have new character sheets for everybody. No.
We've been in the astral realms this whole
Exactly.
time.
You've all been poetic actors and
The-
cloaks.
the black
Multi-level.
the black screen comes up and you're all in a cart.
Oh no! Damn it, Todd! You've done it again.
The whole game was just an awakening, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everybody.
I know how
start
to
over
transition
again.
to our next
New
Chronicle.
mages.
Listen, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I posted a couple things in
Mhm.
the Discord. I'm not sure if everyone saw it, but essentially this is... Actually, I got into a discussion with Dustin on Wednesday about this, but he's like, because his take was everyone ended up with a better life. And I was like,
Ooh.
that's a take.
Interesting.
But,
Debatable.
I think that Isabel is a better person in this timeline. I do
Mhm.
not think she's had a better life
Mhm.
from an objective standpoint. I think she's done a lot of growth, and she is trying to recognize that and not feel like this fucking demigod just ruined her life on a whim
Mm,
to experiment with what might happen.
yeah.
And is feeling very, especially in the parlor and everything, like this would be a much better meeting to have outside with open air, and like she's just feeling very much like a trapped animal at the moment. And
Oh,
is
yeah.
just
Because
waiting to escape.
Because let's bring up you have seen a parlor and through the windows a garden, and then a gray formless nothingness beyond it. You haven't seen other rooms. You haven't seen out the front door. Yeah, that's true. Very
so
tight.
It's very much in line with what she's experienced in her life. Is just another step of something happening to her that she will have to get past and figure out how to adjust to.
Big predator prey vibes.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Theo has been out of sorts since the visions of the alternate timeline,
Right.
because she was presented with a hypothetical choice.
Yeah.
And it was just a mental exercise at the time that she couldn't resolve, but now she's here with the person that created that alternate reality and theoretically has access to it. So now the choice that the hypothetical choice she was wrestling with has now become a legitimate one. Does she give up her life with Catherine and get her husband back, or does she let them die and stay with Catherine and have Theodosia undergo whatever happened? Like, so she's on the horns of a dilemma.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And like it's unresolvable for her. So I'm not sure how this is going to go tonight.
Yeah, Gisela is just... I feel like about the only one who has an objectively better life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is better.
Family's still here, still with them.
Yeah. I feel like this is a more hopeful path than the one she was on as well. Like, from what she saw of everything she did in the other life. So, she's mostly keeping her mouth shut because she's aware of that.
Right.
But also just, like, an itching, insatiable curiosity to just, like, talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then have her answer all of my questions. Explore this place we're in. I have questions about that.
Yeah.
But in company,
You can feel the brooding of everyone else.
Well,
Yeah,
especially because Theo is right behind you.
Yeah.
in the company of everyone else, keeping her mouth shut.
And this is all to say nothing of Rilla
And Jules.
That too. Also, like,
and Jules. Yeah.
trying to be a good and supportive friend to Rilla, who was looking at her self.
Right. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually
Cool.
to kind of pull up with them, not necessarily the same meta conversation, but yeah, Rilla is at this point has leaned back into the couch and is kind of a little more relaxed. It's like, okay, she now actually has a grasp on, if not necessarily an understanding, but that, okay, this is somebody else. They look like me. But they've never had my experiences.
Yeah.
And so they look like me, but they are not me, right? They never had met the four of you in Purgatory Bluff, for instance, right? And Jules, however, is looking a little frazzled because this is a friend and coworker who, when she knew him as the worst possible version Jules could imagine himself as. And like, there's a, okay, it's a little bit meta because you couldn't probably necessarily tell, but there's this morbid curiosity of like, how bad was I? Like, he wants to know, if I had power, what did I do with it? So
wants to know in the way that you can't look away from a train wreck. Like, it's horrible.
Well, and especially because there's this whole like, I almost woke to pandemonium, and I almost did, and that's what I did last time. Now Theo is over here talking about, hey, maybe we could help you awaken again, right? And Ralph Cloak is over here saying, yeah, pandemonium isn't that bad. You just need to be prepped for it. And he's going, I don't know if I want to try again, because what if I become that guy? So yeah, a lot of stuff.
Just knowing that he has the capacity to be that person.
Yep. So dropping into character here, and as things get probably a little tense, there's that seething dark aura coming off of Baba Sarah. Not necessarily anger, but just that Moros energy.
There's a good chunk of anger there.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to put words in your mouth. And Miss Remmington kind of nods and says, you all have had a long journey and spent quite a few hours in the shadow with no real rest, and I have put you through some ordeals before even revelations today. There are I can make places for you all to rest as you all may wish, give you all time to talk amongst yourselves, think to yourselves, and I am at your, for the time being, your beck and call as your host, and for former mentee, I still feel that I owe you all at least modicum of respect. If anybody wishes to relax a bit.
I suspect we'll take you up on that. Beforehand, I must ask, what are the rules of hospitality in this place? He says the last word with a capital P.
Right. You will find that there is little that you can do to me or mine or my things without my willing it. You stand sit in my chantry. You all are within my soul. As far as things go, I have the ability to work my will anywhere here without being personally there. Think of it similar to visiting your own Oneros, where you are the daemon.
Does that mean that we can still reach the astral from here?
She nods to the front door and says, it's just out there.
We're physically inside your soul?
Yes.
Is this what it would be like if we were to physically enter the astral? Is that what we've done?
No. Were you to step from here into the astral, your body, and she gestures with the, base of her cane to kind of tap your boot and says you would fall unconscious as you might normally.
Cloak smiles when she says that. I mean, if we were to step bodily into the astral, is this what it would be like?
Perhaps. It's actually not something I've experimented with. But yes, you would be missing your Amnion to guard your mind and soul. You would bring your physical self.
What path are you? Or what path did you walk before you?
I was in Obrimos before now.
Hmm.
And like seeing some of the faces, both specifically from like Isabel and Cloak alone, and probably trying to direct her own attention away from Theo, says, "Do you all wish to see?" Yes. All right. She, stands herself up and walks to the front door,
Can you undo it?
like mid-step. Which part?
Do you have the capability to put things back?
Capability, yes.
That answer does not appear to calm Theo in any way.
That's not exactly what she asked, though.
The ability to transcend and bypass time is a work of Imperial magic. It requires quintessence. It requires effort and planning in order to gather quintessence to make these journeys.
Wait a minute.
That's not exactly what you had us chop all that wood for, was it?
Are you saying that we had something to do with this? By going on this journey?
Bringing you all together, yes, was the quintessence I need to continue my journey.
Okay. That's... Alright. Cloak takes a deep breath of relaxation. So you're saying that the work of Imperial magic that brought us together in the first place was not something we did? Was not a retroactive consequence of us going on this journey to meet you?
No.
Okay.
No. This will
We
allow me
gathered
to
the
return.
fuel for her next fire.
Yeah, we've supplied you. Wish you need to try
see
again.
that.
Well, it will be less of a try again. I have proceeded with this, and like the glance at Rilla, this experiment. And I have other omens to chase. But to the question that Theo did not ask, I could send you back.
Theo's eyes are sort of unfocused at this point.
Half a bottle of whiskey, and yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Totally.
I understand the shrine, but the other tests almost interest me more. Specifically, the nightmares.
Well, what is your question?
How were they crafted?
Oh. By pulling them out of your nightmares. The human mind comes up with considerable better nightmares for oneself than someone else might devise. They are more personal.
But they were already a part of our mindscape.
Correct. Which is why...
And you just revealed them to us.
Correct.
But not related to the actual other selves that we were.
No. They were all fabrications of your own personal selves. These selves. Pointing at all of you.
Meaning, and Cloak turns to Theo, meaning that we're not prophecy.
No more prophecy than self-prophecy.
There's no indication Theo even heard you.
Sense.
Isabel's gonna help Theo process some of that liquor. Because she can feel the vibes are fucked at this particular Applebee's, and should like Theo to not perhaps do something regrettable in a attacking a demigod sort of way,
or at least not do it while drunk. Need you to be sober if you're going to make these bad decisions, ma'am.
Right.
Cloak says, Ms. Remmington, did you meet the daemons?
Your daemons? No.
Yes. Would you like to meet mine?
She gives you that very polite, oh, that's sweet of you to offer, but no, I wouldn't want to put you out. No, thank you. Like, of 100% like, oh, honey, yeah, go put the painting up on your refrigerator. Yeah. It's like the idea of beating a mage's
the class pet to a teacher that doesn't actually like them that much.
Right, yeah. It's like, okay, that's no, thank you, I'm good.
Thank you for raising your hand 7 times today, Stephen.
Right.
Your knowledge is appreciated.
Yeah. But good.
It was not a question seeking your approval, because I don't desire it. And it was more so an act of polite courtesy on my own part, because I think that the people we are a direct consequence of your machinations, and our daemons have experienced something as a consequence as well. I think, as you know, that parts of our soul are extremely revelatory. So I suspect that when I continue asking you questions to gain further insight into how you've influenced my life in ways I certainly would not have chosen, I'd like for those questions in that conversation to be informed by the other part of my soul that has been directly affected. If you'd like, when we resume this conversation, it can be kind of 3-way, where I can be in communication with them while I'm talking to you. Or the 3 of us can just talk together.
I'm trying to think how she... Well, actually, I think she gives the polite, I will have to think about that. But you probably, especially having the conversation and just kind of a little flashback for last week, she is here and has brought you as the mentors here to basically say thank you, but her goal is to study Rilla, who has, been affected by all of you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With the alcohol out of her system, Theo started shaking again.
And Isabel will just come over and get eye contact with her.
So I'd have to turn her face, but that does it.
The fucking Thor trailer. Look deep into the eyes of the people you love.
Yep.
I'm having a hard time processing that. And I can imagine that yours must be even more difficult. And we are here for you as your friends and as your coven.
Nods.
This is an incredibly unfair thing for us to have had done to us. Even if we didn't know that it had happened.
So that breaks her.
Yeah. And she just grabs you in a hug and it's like, yep. Isabel understood someone else's feelings for once. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean,
Theo
you're in
is just-
a not different situation yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Theo is just deep shuddering sobs.
Yeah.
Imagine Rilla probably
Might
gets
tear
up.
up a little bit.
I
I made
Rilla-
myself cry.
No.
think Rilla gets up and comes around, gives a hug, and I think I don't know. I think is it in character for Rilla? Yeah, I think it's in character enough for Rilla to whisper and into Theo's ear, and it's just seriously, or actually probably just politely, fuck this bitch.
And in your other ear, my plan is to treat this like we did the diamond orders. This is an outside force bargaining and bribing from a place of power so far above ours. It's cannot even be considered a fair trade.
Theo
We'll
just sort
survive this, as we always do.
of blubbers out. Why did she have to show me?
Part of her work, I would imagine.
I guess you guys are probably having this quiet conversation. Never mind. I was going to say, Rilla was about, Miss Remmington was about to say something, but yeah.
She's polite enough of a host to not, right?
Well, that, and I think perhaps this is happening while she's talking with Cloak.
Oh,
about
yeah, that's
payments.
fair too.
Yeah.
And she'll just, give you one last big squeeze and like wipe a tear and turn back, and she's right back into petrichor with a little crackle of lightning and everything from her chest.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to be polite, but I realized Miss Remington just looks
Not
polite.
really.
Turns and looks from Cloak to the others who are like starting to break up their hug, and she says, right, and walks to the front door and swings it open to see a literal golden road in the middle of a star field. Think Rainbow Road from Mario Kart, but it is a solid gold road with bits of starlight out there, and then kind of in the distance, forward and back, you can see some kind of structures or symbols that are floating out there, kind of like massive statues or structures or something like that, adorning along the road. And she steps out and kind of beckons with a hand as she steps out into the middle of it. And it's not this wide, like multi-lane highway thing, but it's quite wide, and stands in the middle of it and like strikes it with her cane once and said, "This is my path." And points the cane back, which there's this ever subtle slope, right? And points back, and you can see kind of in the distance this field of twinkling, like almost probably even considering her Brimosness, stars, right? And without needing to ask you can recognize the astral. And then looking up, you can see, well, this very kind of heavenly kind of place full of energy and power that this golden road bridges, which also means that all this darkness beneath and below
is the abyss.
Are you a prisoner here?
No, this is mine. I have decorated it.
I don't know. It seems restricting, lonely. Yeah.
It can be, but I can also step off this road to any number of places, and you can see in the distance near some of these structures are doorways in places. This particular door is literally just a open door with nothing behind it except when you look through it into the parlor.
So what, you lay this path brick by brick?
This path, tapping it again, replaces the path that you all walk, tied to a watchtower. I have no watchtower. I have me. And like the politeness and everything, this is the moment
where the road
where
is designed to go from one place to another. Why are you in the middle of it then?
She smiles like, oh, she gives you like straight up shark big grin and says, would you want to join me? We can walk all the way to the supernal realm. Not the supernal worlds that you all see, the supernal realm itself. Go meet the exarchs. Well, even I avoid their attention, but
what happens if we do that?
You all would be obliterated. I would last minutes, perhaps. I go there, pointing again with her cane, right? And I negotiate. I talk. I discuss with supernals in their home. I meet with ascended mages to learn of their wisdom.
I just want to send.
Well, by luck or by hard work?
Curious more about the latter part.
If I knew a definite answer, I would give it to you, but your expanding understanding of Arcana will eventually allow myself to transubstantiate and become supernal.
Okay.
Can't tell if Ruff is talking or not.
I am not.
Okay. There's just enough mouth movement. I was like, uh-oh.
Still seems empty.
Well. And so she walks down the way. Has everybody exited, or is Baba Sarah, is Theo staying inside?
Oh, Isabel has not stepped foot on this fucking road. Okay. Absolutely not.
Gotcha.
Same with you.
Cloak has.
Yeah, I'll follow her.
Cool. So, I think, especially seeing the two good students, right? Following her, she nods to the two of you. Actually, would Rilla go? I think Jules stays behind, and I think Rilla comes with.
Yeah, I feel like just as curious as she is, this is...
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Jules has like, maybe I don't want power. Maybe I don't want to be a mage. And also my girlfriend's staying, so I'm gonna stay. But nods, and one of the servants closes the door behind, and she walks, and for having a cane, she has a pretty decent stride. It definitely seems more affectation, right? And she walks, strides and says, the shadow, the astral. Though I will warn you not to step foot within. And she walks over, and next to what kind of object would it be? I don't know. A structure. I'm not going to stress about it. Pushes open a doorway, which you hear the sound of like city. It leads to Metropolis, right? A very specific place in Metropolis, right? And she motions and then pulls the door shut. Yeah, very, very lonely here. Continues to walk down a little bit farther and opens another door, which you recognize as a space outside of Purgatory Bluff.
Oh, whoa.
Like, you can see the town from here. It's definitely like, it's a ways away, out kind of in the middle of the nothingness, right? The hills and grass and oceans, and there's home. Can visit whenever I wish. Pulls that shut. Says, this is more freedom than I've ever had.
Is that your Purgatory Bluff?
There is only one Purgatory Bluff in this timeline. There is but one timeline. And I have never been to Purgatory Bluff. That is your Purgatory Bluff. And looks at Rilla and says, your Purgatory Bluff.
Do you often travel about in the world?
I do. When necessary to nudge or learn or to meet with others. And there are others like me to meet with, though we rarely meet face to face and work through proxies more than anything.
Why?
Sometimes our workings counter the workings of others. That causes strife. If I were to, say, desire the United States to fall apart for some reason, and there's some other mage who wishes it to stay a unified force, we may conflict.
How many mages like you are there? Because you seem by far the most powerful one I've ever met. And you have the ability to just rewrite people's lives on a whim. How many like you are there?
A few hundred, I would imagine. It's not as though we have regular meetings. And while I appreciate the mention, nudging your lives was a very calculated and thought out process, and was not something that was done at a whim.
What do you think the chances are that we will have someone else like you also meddling in our lives?
The sheer likelihood of an Archmage taking an interest in 5 mages in the middle of Colorado is unlikely. I suspect that maybe, depending on how exactly an abandoned timeline manifests, you may have an Archmage show interest in what I was interested in, but without being derogatory, I don't think that they will find you all of interest as I did.
That's the answer I wanted. I would rather be unnoticed by folks such as you.
Until one approaches the threshold as I did, I do not believe that will be a concern.
Mm.
She turns back and starts heading back towards the parlor door.
But I'd like to ask a question before we re-enter the parlor.
Mm-hmm.
Out of courtesy to Theo, I want you to understand that although I ask these questions from a perspective of yielding ignorance, it is not because I'm happy about what happened. It's because I understand that what is done for the most part, and that I still have an opportunity to learn. So, she asked you if you could change things back. And you said yes, you could. I'm curious if because you can, that means that we still retain some connection to what was or was not. The place, the time that we did not experience. Do we have sympathy to it? Is there something about it that can lead us into a future we wouldn't have otherwise known was good for us?
No, you all have no connection to those alternate times and places.
Ooh, bad answer.
In order to take Theodosia back, I would have to take her back in time, place her where she was, and not nudge her murderer's gun. And then we are again at the whims of fate. She will be shot. Well, actually, excuse me. Her husband and son will be shot, and she will be shot. Whether or not she awakens, I suspect she would. If I do everything exactly right. But that is still at the whim of the watchtowers. For all I know, they will not appreciate my meddling. In this very example, motioning at you, you are now a Mastigos and not a Brimos. You are an Acanthus and not a Moros. The supernal is outside of time, looking in on time, and my own personal timeline is still linear, though I can step in and out of the flow of time, the phenomenal world kind of motioning out towards the astral, but my own timeline, I continue forward.
Could you not take Theo as she is back? And then
take the Moros, Theo.
Yes, with all the knowledge that she has, back to her still living family to try to help them?
I could perhaps, but then we are talking about a Moros Theodosia, Baba Sarah, who is now living with her husband and son, not... Ooh, hang on here.
And daughter.
And daughter, yes. But the two that survived, right? Not the Thyrsus that I knew, and the life that you saw as a Thyrsus with the family. The struggles that, well, your Theodosia has are different than the struggles that my Theodosia overcame. She is now a different woman. She's a different person. He's a different mage. So to take that Theodosia and put her into the other timeline would not necessarily grant her the same life.
Then why not bring them here?
No, what you're asking for is a work of Imperial magic.
You are an Imperial mage. At least I've been led to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Would you do that for her? Would you find me the quintessence necessary to bring those 2 dead sleepers back to life, back here?
I think that...
I'm not saying it out loud, but in my head I'm going, if she wants us to.
I think that a terrible thing has been done to her. And if she wanted my help to go on a journey or to experience adversity with her, to accomplish something that undoes a great injustice, yes.
Okay.
I would
and I
lend her my
appreciate that.
aid. However, there is another way in which I meant the question, which is there are a number of ways that we can still retain connection and experience with others. They needn't be with us physically. They can be in our soul. They can be around us as different forms. What matters is that we still know them. Isn't there a way that you could at least give her family in her own Oneros?
She has her family in her own Oneros. She can visit them whenever she wishes. She's the one who has not.
Cloak holds up a hand and says, I don't mean the theoretical or technical aspects of astral visitation in Goche. You do know that I am a Mastigos. I mean a different thing. I have visited her Oneros, and I have some understanding of how she experiences the remnants of who was her family. And they are not the same as she would experience if they were actors in their own right.
So what are you suggesting? And I'm going to pause here real quick so Ralph, you can tell me what the hell you were talking about.
Cool, sure. So Theo is a Moros, Cloak is a Mastigos. What Cloak thinks is this. All right, you have taken from us the people who meant the most to us in the world. And so now the people who are most important in our lives are the people that were most important in your life. But they still aren't the most important people to us. We're still all reeling from it, right? Cloak is still upset about the fact that his mentor's not around, right? Like one of the things he wants to do, he was going to ask about, Goetic education and stuff is, all right, can I somehow bring this person back, right? Can they be with me? Can I walk this path with them, even as a Mastigos? So what he's really asking is, can this Archmage bring Goetic versions or ghostly versions of Theo's family back? If she can't bring them here or restore what has happened without shifting Theo into another timeline, can she implant in Theo's soul those people as close as possible to who they are, such that she can at least have some ephemeral relationship with them that is permanent?
I don't know, that's really ghoulish.
Right. Well, and that's, of course,
Ralph?
that's where Craig gets into it.
I think you just described what your bribe should be.
Ooh.
A thought. But,
Because,
so...
the thing is, the Goetia are not them and never will be them. They're copies.
Right, and that's,
No, I get that. But out of character, right? We're talking about Imperial magic, which explicitly breaks all the rules. So this is the reason why Cloak is posing it to an Archmage and not asking in the theoretical. And that's why he responded the way he did when she was like, well, but there is a version of him in her soul. So because it breaks the rules, if Cloak's like, hey, can't you just do this? Right? Yeah. And she's like,
okay,
I get,
well, hang on, we can
you
jump in.
See what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Hey, he's not asking for, can you just have Goetic versions? Like, can you just make the people Goetia? Yeah. Right. Which is slightly different.
Yeah. Let me jump in.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
cool.
Now that I know what you're after.
Right,
she nods and she says, about the same question. You were talking about a entirely realized entity, not a ghost that, well, Theodosia herself could create, which would be a fragment, or a goetic self, a mind that has a portion of that real self. But the full entity, yes, but again, is an imperial act. It requires quintessence. There's much that I can do, much that I wish I could do for you all. And perhaps we enter into a bargain. And I am in no rush. Time means very little to me. So an arrangement to bring such things, if she wishes it, there's potential ways to go about that. Now, of course, curious how she would react to having her husband and son back in her lives in a limited way, while also being married to Catherine.
It's ultimately not our discussion to have.
No, and I treat this as a purely hypothetical and logical reasoning question from Cloak.
I would be willing to assist in, if you need us to go on another stupid book journey, to generate whatever is needed to do it, if it is what Theo wants. But again, it's
her decision.
It's her decision.
I agree. And so we're going to shift gears real quick just to check in. Yeah, inside where the girls are plotting. I don't know what you actually are doing.
You said there's rooms for resting?
She said that rooms could be made for you. Yes.
Is there one available while she is gone?
Yeah. So you started exploring around looking for something. Just to check in. Craig, what is Theo doing?
I'm standing staring at the wall right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so when you start to kind of poke your head around, okay, natural thing is let's go up the stairs to find rooms. Yeah, there is a hallway with doors leading off of it, and you open the first one, and we have our first glimpse into the underworld.
Oh, damn.
So, Isabel pushes the door open, expecting some kind of room, and nope.
Well, shit.
Yep. There are more doors that you may look around, but that's like the first door that you get open.
There were automatons that you might be able to ask, right?
Oh, that's also true, yes.
I just want to find a bedroom.
Cool. Yeah, if Isabel is comfortable enough to like keep poking around these doors, because nothing yanks out. Yeah, first,
she's comfortable enough to do it. That's
okay,
fine.
yeah. First couple doors, definitely the underworld, some other weird places, and just like checking door. But there are basically, away from those first ones off of the stairs, there are ones that look that step into fairly large guest quarters, one room with armoires and beds and stuff like that, and they're each well, actually I think there are literally 6 of them.
Cool.
Yep, and they all more or less match.
She goes back downstairs and she grabs Jules' hand and she pulls him upstairs.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Jules is confused at first, but goes on, obviously.
And she explains to him that this has all been a very much lot, and that she has not had a bed to sleep in for the last 4 weeks, nor any time where the two of them would not be around anyone else. And also a little bit of pettiness of, in a bit of a fiercest sense, Scent marking,
Yeah.
shall we say.
Yep.
Sure.
100%. There's like, yo, this is our bedroom. Our door slams
Mhm.
shut.
Yep. And that's enough.
Rilla, imagine Rilla just kind of like half listening. There's some conversation up there. She can half hear, and then she hears a door slam. Cheeks blush, and she looks over at Theo and says, "How are you feeling?"
Terrible.
She nods. I bet we could get away with slapping her once.
What's the point?
Catharsis?
She showed me stuff I wish I didn't know, but
I mean, not to be overly blunt, which I've noticed I've been recently. I think Cloak is wearing off on me. But if there's things you never want to see again, never think about again, I mean, we're mages.
I've been upset since I saw that alternate timeline because I couldn't decide what I would choose if I had the chance to do it over.
Not to put too fond of a point on it, but the events, as you've described them, you didn't have a choice.
But now it was theoretical before, and that was troubling enough, but there was really nothing I could do about it. But now it's not theoretical, it's real. I could go back. How do you decide?
Why decide?
Because I can't have both.
You can't have both, and this is the one that you have, unless you make some deal with that harpy. You would have to give her something. You would have to make a deal with her to go back.
And every part of me wants to. But
Every
also,
part of you?
But also, I don't want to lose what I have.
So not every part of you.
That's the conflict. I feel like it's selfish to stay. To condemn my son and husband to death, in effect. But it's also selfish to leave and abandon my wife.
I mean, she kind of keeps looking over the door, waiting for Miss Remmington to come back, right? And she says, as she said, I mean, there is that timeline exists with you and them, and they are loved by you.
Stops her and just looks at Rilla.
They have Theodosia. You weren't plucked from that timeline. You are there. Well, not you, not Baba Sarah, but whoever that fiercest Theo is, who is there. But she took the name Mama Bear or something. I'm trying to like nudge you a little bit. Was there for them. And you were all together. And here, you are alone with Valosia, and me, and Catherine, and Gisela, and Isabel, and Cloak, and Jules, and hell, Madame Robert. Like, don't make me the entire town of Purgatory Bluff. All those farmers who think you are apparently in charge of their lives somehow after you've been a farmer for a year.
Just sort of a glimmer, faint, but a glimmer of hope in Theo's eyes that maybe that's a way to resolve the dilemma.
Like, if what she is saying is true and you're taken from this timeline, Catherine and Valosia and I will miss you, and you will be gone, and you will return to take over for the Thyrsus, or perhaps to never have known us while we continue without you. To go live a life that you've already seen seems, if not necessarily happy, content. You could ask her even. I don't know how she has those memories, but you could have an entire lifetime of memories stashed into your own Neros. Have your daemon go drink that down and see if that calms her down. Actually, hang on, I take that back. Has Rilla picked up on your daemon problems?
We've had talks about it, yes.
Okay, yeah.
They don't always see eye to eye.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Specifically around when she was cleansing her condition.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they are alive. Just in a different timeline.
Mm-hmm. The one that Miss Remmington left. So actually, they're probably doing all right because they don't have her around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're missing me, but
just reaches over and sort of cups her head and just presses their heads together with their eyes closed for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Thank you.
Welcome."
That helps a lot."
It's just the logical, scientific conclusion.
There is nothing logical or scientific about anything that we do.
Right. Which I'm sure is probably an ongoing thing between the two of them, where she's like, I'm an Abrimos, I'm a scientist. This all just makes absolute sense. Everything is ordered. And meanwhile, the Boros is like, I don't know why you're trying to put order to shit. It's all going to fall apart anyways. It's going to change, I guess I should say, not necessarily fall apart.
Yeah.
I think that's possibly...
Scientifically explain a ghost, please.
Listen.
Yeah. I've been waiting for you to ask me this question.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe when Miss Remmington opens the door and steps in and like immediately like looks over at the two of you standing there, like there is a like glance up towards the bedroom through all the walls.
There's some
fuckery in my soul.
noises.
Oh yes, we're in her soul,
we'll just
so you're
describe
gonna
it as
leave
moving
your
furniture.
Yes.
We're marking her soul. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Her chant.
I'm never gonna get that out of my head. Yeah.
Yep. And Isabel is just fine with that.
We've been doing Petty Bitch since episode 1. So.
And looks at, Theo, who is obviously looking better. And
So
Miss Remmington.
Theo's is a face. A mask is her face is a mask. And she sort of walks over and she just says, "It was unspeakably cruel of you to show me that alternate timeline and present me with that hypothetical choice. I think I would like to rest now."
Okay. I see I was able to help you after all, Miss Remington says, smiling at Rilla. Oh yeah, she's taking credit for that shit. But as at your comment about wanting to rest, one of the automatons just walks up and like makes a little follow me motion and leads the way up the stairs to one of the bedrooms, one farthest away from the noise.
And Theo is pointedly not hearing anything going on upstairs.
Yeah. Once you're inside, you don't hear shit. Looks to Rilla. Rilla, like, I'm just staying down here for now.
Quiets down after a while. It's not,
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't hear anything once you're in your room.
Exactly.
But Rilla looks to the three of you and says, "Is it interesting?"
Yes.
Well, I have no immediate urge to rest, and I wouldn't mind talking to myself for a minute.
Leave you to it.
I'd like to explore this place.
Miss Remington kind of pauses a second. You can see she's almost doing like a mental inventory of what's in her head kind of thing. She nods and says, you are welcome to. I will advise to not walk through any doorway that seems to lead to any place otherworldly, but anything that seems to be part of my home will be safe. And like notably, because we've talked about there being this parlor, there is these stairs near the front that lead up, but there's also a couple doors off that would lead to, any other normal space you might expect to find in a house. It is a fairly large house. We're not talking it's smaller than Mr. Enright's place, but it's still a fairly, for the time period, pretty large home.
Yeah.
I imagine Giza's going to go find a library.
Yeah. Also just like an intense curiosity about the place itself. This soul house that she's got going on.
Cool.
And the fact that she's just told me that there are doors that go to other places means I am looking for them.
Sure.
I'm not going to be stupid and walk through them, but I want to see.
Right. And then what about Cloak?
As Gisela leaves, Cloak turns to Miss Remington and asks, is there a room I could rest in that would allow me to view Pandemonium while I'm there?
No. Not in the way that you were suggesting.
What way do you think I'm suggesting it?
I imagine you wish to see the supernal world that you walked when you went to your watchtower.
It doesn't need to be my experience.
Well, it would be the same supernal world.
All right, fair enough. What I mean is, does not need to be a direct glimpse. It's more the ambiance I'm looking for.
I can make ambiance. Nods to one of the clockwork servants who motions for you to follow and leads you up to your bedroom, which is quite Pandemonium themed.
That's going to be a 0 out of 10 vibe check for me.
The bedroom itself is gone, but it is replaced with very clearly, just like looking at it, there's enough off that it's very clearly not the supernal world or even the supernal realm, because that would fry you up. But it definitely has the shift of the look of Pandemonium. Go ahead.
I realize actually. It would probably be more appropriate for what I'm planning on doing if it's themed like the Ether.
Sure. Yeah, we can make a little retcon there. And yeah, she responds. She's like, yeah, we can
Cool.
make that happen. And so yeah, the bedroom space is replaced. Again, it is purely cosmetic.
Sounds good to me. That's fine.
But it is the Aether, as you had a glimpse of.
Yes.
A lot of gold.
Perfect.
A lot of gold, a lot of mandalas, a lot of shifting, white and gold, marble and gold, I imagine. Little chasing of silver here and there but yeah, it's not it is definitely a room. It is not large. She did not work a pocket dimension or anything like that, just change the look of the place.
Okay.
And we will pause there.
Cool.
So I can go get more coffee and we can come back.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Hey, we did roll dice.
That's right. There were a few
two of them.
Rolls.
Yeah. So, all right.
Might be
YouTube
some
guys,
others, we'll see.
we'll be back in a second. Twitch guys, get up, walk around, move, do some stuff. Back in a sec. Okay, so we are going to pick up with Gisela walking through and exploring the upstairs to start, and the quick realization of, well, that leads to, the underworld, or, well, don't know that she would necessarily immediately recognize it as, but that's dark,
just
spooky, underground.
Another place.
Yeah, no
I mean,
thanks.
with your sort of diagnostic mage sight, you'd probably have a
Oh, yeah.
pretty good idea.
That's very true. Because it's just raw death. It's like,
Death.
okay. Yeah. It's definitely a couple emanation realms and some stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this is all the stuff. And then there's, bedrooms. Okay, hang back down and finding other places. Notably, you do find one door that is locked. And when you touch the handle and like jiggle it, and it's like it's locked. And there's this definite, like, it's not a physical sense of Miss Remmington standing over your shoulder, but you're just like, okay, nope, and move along.
I just like the idea that, like, in your head, you can feel that this is locked with a capital L.
Yeah, yes. It's like, okay, maybe not that. But we do eventually find the library, which is bigger on the inside. It is absolute. We have Gisela, who has frequently been our belle, definitely having the belle walking into the library and just like, there are so many books. And notably, there are so many books and so many clearly grimoires, different collections of rotes and spells and other stuff. And they're recognizable because prime site, but some of them are not books. Some of them are, stone tablets, things like that. But you also see entities that are bound. You see like without having the appropriate arcana for it, something that you recognize as a spirit that has been twisted into the shape of numerous supernal runes and bound in that shape, and then on what looks like a pedestal to just be examined. This is not quite cheerful, happy library. There's definitely some stuff here that's like, that is questionable. But what are you going to do?
Tracks with what I think of Miss Remmington.
Yeah. You have the walls lined with stuff as well as a few rows of stuff. There is literally one desk and an enormous cushy chair to sit on, and a large window that looks out to the garden space. You can see the horses and the wagon out there. Just tons and tons of, and some of the stuff are actual books. There is even a section of fiction and just actual things that she has collected for her own personal collection of stuff. I imagine, do we have Alice in Wonderland yet? I can't remember if we determined that one yet. No. Yeah. But other various tales and stories that, are appropriate for the time period. And then others that are like, I've heard of a book like this, but it didn't have this title. It was, so we have like Revenge of the Jedi, or what's the other title? Yeah, but yeah. So we have some of these alternate titles that books were given and things like that. So it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, walking about and exploring. And based on our discussion, I don't think you settled on a particular book that you're looking for.
Not yet, but
Okay.
basically not leaving this room until someone makes me. And also just sort of wandering through the shelves, lightly running fingers along them and trying to see which ones feel right.
Gotcha.
And so I imagine she's gonna get a couple, probably. Rotes and other things. And just go bring them over to the desk and start studying.
Sure, I like that. Yes, find a collection of different things. There's definitely some books as you're running your fingers across, your fingers snap back like off of a hot stove. Is like, what the hell was that? Never mind, I don't want to know. Kind of
She's trying to find the ones that are sort of faded.
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, we've discussed out of character what you're expecting to get out of those books, and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, definitely a couple books that you pick up, probably take over, start studying, and realize, no, not quite. Set to the side, and imagine there's like this in and out pile of books that start to accumulate around that desk. Cool. Then we'll jump up to Cloak, who is in the middle of the not Aether and viewing out. And I imagine that it also has this window out to the gardens, which you are all starting to notice. It's the same view of the gardens, regardless of what window you are looking out. It's always a really good view of the entire gardens.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yep. Of course, from your perspective, it looks a little bit different. But I don't know if you had any plans or intentions while you were there.
Of course. Yeah. Cloak is going to enter his Oneros.
Pulling
and have a
his
conversation
self
with
out
his
of the
demon.
Temenos.
Is that you? Oh, that's right, because that's where I was sitting. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to move into the Oneros. So.
Yep. And yeah, your astral self steps out onto Haiti.
And he's going to take a ship like he's done before, but we haven't seen in character for some time, and he's going to visit the island of his demon.
Cool. Which I imagine actually at this point, it's less of that shore that you washed up onto, right?
Yeah.
And more of, there's a dock and the ship gets close and kicks you out into a rowboat. There's still some personal effort that's required. Your daemon, who's there in probably, I imagine, has had varying guises.
Yeah.
Rather than a fairly standard one, especially, considering you are into mind and the astral and things like that, and it probably shows on them. I imagine, considering what is forefront in your mind, looks a lot like your mentor.
Big surprise.
Yep. And is kind of sitting and waiting.
Virtue and
for
vice has changed considerably since that
Also
first
true.
visit. So it's changed, 4 times. So it's probably an important element as well.
Yeah.
Great. So they're waiting there.
Mhm.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Cool.
Probably waiting for you as you step off the rowboat onto the little dock, the jetty.
Cloak will approach and embrace them silently.
Yeah. Hugs back. Yeah, I thought you might need this.
Yeah. I think we need to decide something.
Sure. Let's walk.
All right.
Just walks along the beach with you.
Cool. Theo's reaction to Miss Remmington's actions made me feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Something I realized I haven't engaged with.
Kind of looks out the horizon. There are these shadowed, dark storm cloud like hidden islands, that reek of unexplored, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Like foreboding and storms and
Right.
volcano in one.
The last time I came through a storm to see you, I thought about what led us to awakening and how my actions, how my choices, Tontomakut, led to his death. And now I learn that in some ways it wasn't my fault. That it wasn't just the beginning of the adversity I must experience in order to find wisdom.
You don't take your own advice very well, do you?
No, of course not. Because that would mean I have to embrace my feelings.
It wasn't your decision. You didn't make these things happen. You were literally locked away.
Yeah, but it's much easier to beat myself up. It's much easier to accept responsibility I don't deserve for things I did before, and recognize that things are going to happen to me that I don't want, and they're outside of my control.
Yes. Mages with control issues, how rare.
Being around these people has given me a chance to learn a lot more about myself and what kind of person I want to be. So, I'm surprised that I never would have known them in the first place. That this wasn't how it was supposed to be.
Do we care of what was supposed to be?
He shrugs and says, I just mean, compared to living a life with him and liberating my people, as opposed to trying to help them liberate themselves in their own minds by working in a mine.
You saved lives in that moment. Fleeing to Purgatory Bluff. Nudge to Purgatory Bluff. We do need to ask her how she did that.
Yes. I think there's things that we can do for others.
There are. Hades kind of points to your memories and connection to Hades. It's not far. We learned a lot. Tomtomatku. Applying the same, well, not all of them, but the same lessons with the children. And we could pay visits to Hades.
What if we help people who are closer?
Distance is a lie, Cloak.
He catches himself right then, That's
But
right.
there are those here. And especially since, it feels weird for Drew to say this, but there are people, there are the white people who are oppressing us here, as opposed to in Hades.
I think Hades needs a number of things that we might be able to give it. However, I think that there is something to be said for helping those you don't know to cast off the shackles of an oppression you share.
It becomes less of a repayment for your past sins and more of being a better self.
Yes.
Wouldn't hurt to
I think
look in on Haiti and see what mages are there.
Yeah. I think if distance is a lie, what matters is connection.
Mm.
We don't have the same connection to Haiti that we once did.
It's not home anymore.
No. As much as I hate to say it, Purgatory Bluff is home.
We've done
And-
more there to make it home than we ever did in Haiti. Haiti, we were forced to live there. Purgatory
Yes.
Bluff, we could have left. We made it home.
We did. And it can be home for others.
Oh. Yes.
You catch my meaning?
Well, yes.
And
May
so,
need to have a pointed conversation with Enright. Well, less a conversation and more a announcement of intent. And he
I think,
can get on or get off.
yeah. I think if we want people to go along with what happens, we'll want to give them an opportunity to participate. Because I don't want a future that's like that nightmare we experienced. Which
Little
we
direction
apparently-
and a chance to be heroes. Everyone wants to be a hero.
Yeah, it reminds me of that glimpse of the other version of myself. I think that's the lesson, that this path we walk might lead to us thinking of everything as an opportunity to triumph in adversity. However, we needn't experience adversity to triumph. That's the truth of the ether, that we are all triumphant. We just must embrace it. That we all have potential to be heroes and gods in various forms, if only we believe. And I've forgotten what he taught me about what the Lua do for us and helping us recognize what's right for us in life. I think I've answered the question that I was posing to Miss Remmington. I don't want to go back. I want to do something right now that I'm here. But I miss him.
She kind of shrugs, and she already knows the answer, but says it anyways. Well, excuse me, he, considering he's currently standing as your mentor, and says, "You can see him. I know it's not the same, but you can revisit."
Yeah. I wonder if there's something else.
We know who
There's
to
a way
ask.
it could have an even stronger version of him.
And I wonder
ask her.
if, well, we've seen ghosts move on, go through doorways. He may be somewhere that we could find, meet again.
Yes. I wonder if he'd be proud.
You know he would.
Yeah, I mean,
To hear
That's
him
not-
say it is different, though. I know.
It's not. And you see Cloak like stumbling over his words. He says, "It's You've seen this. People aren't kind to me, and I know I've pushed them away. I know they've thought that I don't want their kindness, that I don't want their love, but I can't handle it. I was so afraid that all these people I didn't know, if I formed any connection to them, that I would just harm them. I would harm myself. I would ruin everything. We walked such a fine path and avoided risk so that I wouldn't commit the sins of the past. And what did we get for it?
Loneliness.
Walls and boundaries and distance.
Not all our chains pull us down.
That's right. It can pull us up into heaven. This has been really helpful.
I know, I am a wise old man.
And of course, as everyone has seen, Cloak is more inclined to laugh in his Oneros than anywhere else. And he puts an earnest hand on the shoulder of his demon in the guise of his mentor and asks, "What would you want for us to do next? Because we walked this path together."
Truthfully, should show the coven who you really are and stop hiding behind a mask.
Hmm.
Legba is truer to you than Cloak is, as far as they've
Yeah.
seen.
Well, Legba is truer to me than Cloak is. And it's usually the other way around, isn't it?
For many. Isabel is more herself than Petrichor. Petrichor is a part of her. The power of her, but not all of her.
Okay. I guess I've just felt that if I share parts of myself in what others think is a guise, then it makes it less of a vulnerability.
Something, the Hedgehog's dilemma.
That's right.
Did you bunch of little packing peanuts on your little spines?
I can be more vulnerable.
Don't need it to be all at once, and not to all of them at once. You've opened up a little bit to Rilla, a little bit to Theodosia.
Yeah. Definitely need to open up to them before I tell them what might come next. And of course, depends upon what Madame Etoile thinks for the future of Les Enfants. But I think we could do this. I think we could give people a chance to be heroes. Or at least to use what they've learned for good in a way that is not just trying to punish someone for past transgression.
I mean, the entire town. Even if it's just playing to their vanity and vices.
We need to give everyone a chance.
They will start to notice.
You're right. Okay. We'll give them a chance. If they so choose not to participate, we'll give them a chance to leave.
That's also fair.
We didn't harm anyone.
No, just make it clear of what is happening here, and if they don't want to participate, well, you can make it very easy for them to leave.
Yes. It seems like a good plan. So, this may seem like a silly question, but I know you know I'm going to ask this. What's the best way to tell somebody that you don't trust that you'd like to trust them and that you appreciate them, even though you don't feel like they like you?
You've been blunt before.
Yeah, I'm not do it, I guess. All right. I think I'll just speak from the heart and not hide behind the bluntness, the forthrightness.
Mm-hmm.
Lean into my virtue and not my vice.
Also, usually better.
All right. And then, as he nods, he goes and embraces his daemon again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he comes back from the astral that way. Like, instead of releasing his daemon and walking away and going through that, he just nods his head and stays in embrace and then comes back to himself.
Now, out of curiosity, do you stop walking in two worlds?
Oh,
This has been a long time that Cloak's,
yeah,
attention has been kind of split. Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think it would probably be really nice symbolism if he came fully into himself.
That's kind of what I was thinking about, the whole, I don't need to keep doing this two thing. I could just focus on one place.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think he's going to do that.
Cloak sets down the astral cell phone and fully pays attention to the
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. Cool. Thank you for that scene.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we pivot over to, we know that Theodosia probably hit the bed and just passed the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we pick up in the morning with everybody at that point? Okay. Yep. So we
definitely slept in the library.
100%
in the chair.
Yes.
Book runner.
Yeah. We pick up with a automaton, one of the clockworks, arriving in the library, placing a surprisingly cool hand on your shoulder and gently shaking, and then gesturing towards a bathtub that has steam coming out of it and a change of the exact same clothes beside. And
in
then
the library?
Set up in the library. Yep.
Hell yeah. The dream.
Yeah. Don't even have to. Yeah. And then I imagine this particular clockwork, figure has a more feminine cast to it, potentially does all the maid kind of stuff, helping you undress and stuff like that. The rest of you find that there is an adjoining, probably because the idea of an adjoining room for a bath probably isn't really a thing at the time. So yeah,
library is things that are really sensitive to humidity. So.
Oh yeah, no, I just mean specifically in your rooms. Okay. Yeah, so I think you all awake and find a automaton there in your rooms a bath drawn at regardless of what time you wake up, because hey, it's magic. Right.
It's time.
Amusingly, just because of the situation and the incomplete direction given by Miss Remmington, there are 2 bathtubs and 2 automatons in Isabella and Jules's room, and they're side by side. That's like, could have been one big tub. Nope, 2 tubs. And so you all are given basically a chance to cleanse yourselves, and like I said, the exact copies of clothes, and down to like, oh yeah, that patch that I put on it months ago, also there.
Cool.
One of the other things I did mean to bring up to the group is with Gisela's exploration. This is, other than the library seeming like overly large, everything else, this feels like 100% a house. So there less of the like platonic supernal idea of a home that was put together, and more of this was a house that was shunted into this chantry. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I built a house into my soul.
Yeah. Which actually is legitimately how chantries are made.
Really?
Yeah. They find a place and say, I like this place, and they put a portal to it.
Oh, okay.
So somewhere in here is an actual front door that leads to where this house actually is. So, but yes,
that's
this
right.
is
Okay. I gotta hide that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, this is, and that's why it does feel lived in. Everything that's in here, and the gardens and everything. There's some tweaks, but yeah, this is a house. So, but you all have a chance to refresh yourselves, clean up, and yeah, there is food awaiting you all in a formal dining room, laid out. Miss Remmington is there. She has no plate. She has no need to eat. And there are,
What about the joy of it?
That probably was a couple lifetimes ago, and now she's like, you know what?
I gotta say, she's not selling me on this existence.
It's the way she lives it, right? And to quote Ralph, no more poop class. Like, you know what? I don't need to eat anymore. I don't need to do all that. With a little bit of life magic, I can just handle all those needs. But yeah, food is.
Speaking of which, Isabel makes sure that she and Jules are rested and fed.
Gotcha.
Because I think they have a conversation about absolutely not like trusting this woman, and like we're only here for as long as we have to be, and the others can make their decisions. But
cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I appreciate that. Sitting in a bath, and talking to each other, and like, I think Jules goes so far as to have the, attendants leave. It's like, can, like, technically, sure, she could probably hear us, but,
sure.
Yeah. And, suddenly he's still probably blushing quite a lot, but it's like, at this point, a lot of those kids are like, listen, seen it all now. And then some, yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, sitting in the bath across from, I imagine sitting on opposite sides so you can look at each other.
Right.
And he makes a comment of, actually, did you show the paper to him? Because I know you passed it to, did you pass it to anybody?
To Rilla, yeah.
That's right. Okay, that's right. Has anybody else seen it afterwards?
Showed it to him sometime over the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I realized nobody else at this point knows, because Rilla saw the message.
Didn't really react.
Right. And Jules.
Externally.
Right. And Jules is basically the only other person who knows there's a third Rilla. Well, no, because Miss Remmington, I think, mentioned that there's others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do know that we were talking to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just
going
for
to
the
have a group
record,
chat about what that was.
Just for the record, Theo's not going to partake of the bath or the clothes. She'll just use like a modified lodestone to just
push the dirt off. Thaumaturgy, cantrip.
Shake it off.
Prestidigitation.
That's the one.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a little, just a little conversation with Jules where it's, basically they kind of come to terms with, this is not Rilla.
No, he's 100% on board with that.
And just expanding more on, the, like, kind of what she had said to Theo last night of, like, this is fucking cruel. And, those are different people. We could have been them, but we are not.
Oh, Miss Remmington versus Rilla.
Right.
Yeah. So, and to put it bluntly, we're going to take everything that she'll give us and give nothing back.
Pretty much.
Okay. I can work with that.
It starts off as like a sort of checking in on seeing how he's like dealing with the whole, like,
he is 100%. No, I'm totally fine. I'm great. No, this is great.
Everything's fine. It's all good. Everything's fine. It's fine.
And with, I don't know actually if you want to roll or whether or not you're just going to lean into your empathy or previous like low empathy and just be like, yeah, no, he's fine.
I'll make a roll.
Probably to the point of, are you okay? It's just a deflection.
I'm going to use my corral specialty.
Aha.
But, over the course of the evening, I guess, is like checking on him and stuff. So that'll balance out not having any empathy dots. And this is a straight up manipulation roll. And she fucks it up.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
Cool.
Yep.
Anyways, regardless of whether or not she can tell he's fine, she's trying to,
That's right.
This conversation in the bath comes out of trying to make sure that he is aware that she doesn't want him to focus on that other Jules. It doesn't matter to her.
What that other Jules had done.
Right.
Yeah. Which, he doesn't seem bothered about it too.
Continues the, like, she's just not good at, like, she's good at inciting
thoughts and emotions, yeah.
But not maybe meeting where people are coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, from her perspective, no, he seems to get that message.
Glad we're on the same page, team. Team us.
Yep.
Great work.
So,
good game.
High five.
It's not quite how you do a good game.
Nope.
Which that plus Theo's comment about not taking stuff. Everybody, attendants and stuff like that direct you down to the dining room,
right.
And just to kind of set the tone. Miss Remmington is there, and you all kind of make your way in. Is anybody not eating, or just kind of to have the idea of the levels of animosity, for lack of a better term, being given to Miss Remmington?
I would not describe it as animosity. I would describe it as we're good. At least the two of us.
Right. And eating away, I imagine. Or not eating.
Not eating.
Okay, cool.
When does Theo come in? Does she come in before Cloak or after?
Leave that up to Craig.
I think Theo's sort of anxious to get out of there, so she'd probably be down there before.
Okay. Then when Cloak enters, he would walk up to Theo and he would place a hand on her shoulder, left or right, and then look at her and say, Can I give you a hug?
Yes. Stands up and holds out her arms.
He will give her a hug. A very earnest and lengthy hug. And by lengthy, I mean like a 10-second hug. So
Right.
for people who don't like hugs, it seems like an interminable length.
Absolutely.
For people who enjoy hugs, it's like a satisfying length.
Mhm.
And as she sits back, she holds on to you for a moment and kind of looks you in the eye. Are you okay?
Soul marked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a quick little, go into her eye as she checks you over.
He says, I'm better.
Um,
I'm better.
with
But
my
not
question,
okay.
I'm
I
just
will
not
be.
used to plays of affection from you.
Yeah, it's a new thing for me.
I think even the way that sentence is said, I think
yeah.
at that point Rilla lifts her head and looks over and goes, "The fuck is happening over there?"
Okay. It's just like, cool. He's doing this now.
Yeah.
When
And
will,
still, of course,
when
that
will
first
Legba
time
be
you see
normal?
it looks
Brec-
mechanical.
Breakfast
right?
at a show.
Yeah. It looks like this is what you do. You walk up, you ask somebody, and then you hold them for this length, and then you answer their questions.
Oh no.
And then you nod. It's definitely like, this seems right, but it's like, this was rehearsed, right? Like,
Mhm.
this
You've
is
done all
clear-
you've done all the math correctly and still got the wrong answer.
It's where
Yeah.
you can tell that you're trying.
Right, I think
Mhm,
that's the
yeah.
big difference, as opposed to like somebody's taken over Cloak's mind or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was clear there was an earnest intent, like an
Right.
intent behind
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's you can tell the earnestness is there.
Didn't really
That's-
know how to do it, but wanted to convey the emotion. And yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
You'll get better at it.
I
And
can just imagine Cloak's inner dialogue. Is this right? Am I doing this right? Are the answers right? Is this too long or is it not long enough?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like as that happens, and like I think Miss Remmington like smiles and nods and goes, and like, because she is used to probably more, expressive. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe spending the evening in the aether help,
Yeah.
help look back.
Mhm.
But as people are eating or not eating, she's kind of presiding over the room and says, I hope everyone was rested well, even if didn't necessarily use the bedrooms provided for them. And her eyes like moved to Jules and then over to
No, we used it.
You'd use them both. This one's a little ringy out.
In
Let's
the middle
go and
of
use the other one now.
middle of the night. All right, we're done here. Get up. Go to the other bedroom.
Yeah.
But notably, her eyes, go from Jules and Isabel, then over to Gisela, which
Oh, yeah.
Jules looks over at Gisela and goes like, "Wait, hang on, what were you doing?" Because Jules is not exactly feeling guilty, but he's like, "I am well aware of what I was." Yeah, it's like, hang on, wait, what did you do?
Counting people.
Right.
Yeah.
So Theo, who has not eaten anything on the table,
Mhm.
Yeah.
says, you said something yesterday, and I just want you to understand that Rilla here is the one who saved me from the situation that you put me in. She's the one that solved my dilemma for me, but you took credit for it. Don't think for a moment that you had anything to do with getting me out of the hell that you put me in.
She nods her head and says, "If that's what you would like to think."
Just so we're clear.
Isabel's gonna cast a little spell to rest up Theo and have her have the benefits of a nice hearty meal. A
Which-
refresh of that life pattern there.
Yeah, but especially like right here at the dinner table that, and Miss Remington looks between the two, and like there's the can't remember who the gymnast is, but the not impressed face.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but nods. So there was some discussion of, well, gifts, which can arrange for, but and nods to Cloak and says, but there was other discussion of things that you might ask of me. And you can see on her face, she's like, oh yeah, I'd love for you to ask for things from her. Did you come to a decision on that?
Yes. And I would first like to determine if it can be met in the context of the gifts you intend. And then we'll see about other things.
Depends on what you were asking for.
All right. One item I'd like is a cane.
Cane.
Yes. To certain specifications.
That can be easily arranged.
Even if it's magical?
Well, that would depend on the specifications.
What do you know of Legba?
Admittedly, not much.
Well,
I met him the
Legba-
once, but he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember? What do you mean? You mean he's
Legba
alive?
does not remember meeting me.
Oh, you mean D Legba?
The Legba.
Oh,
Okay. Well, you've seen him then.
Yes,
You know he walks with a cane.
I'm familiar with that cane, yes.
And in some ways it aids him in what he does, which is to serve as an intermediary. And to aid people at crossroads and thresholds.
So you wish to have Legba's cane.
I don't wish to take the cane from Legba. I wish, as Legba, to have a cane with similar properties that would aid me in my responsibilities.
This can be arranged.
All right. And then the second thing, which I realize now might be a good place for this object. The cane might be a good place for it. I wish, more than anything, every day since I awakened, to talk to my mentor, to walk with him, to show him what I've learned. To get his approval, to hug him, to understand what more there is for me to learn. And you took that from me. So, in exchange, I want him back in some way. I want to be able to talk to him on my own terms. And it needn't be in the same form we discussed yesterday. I will leave that to others if they wish to do that. But I bet you could do this for me. I bet you could give me a fragment of his soul. So that he can walk with me when I walk as Legba.
I believe. I can see how that... Yes. Yes, that can happen.
And I will pause my requests for now. Thank you.
Do you find some books? Oh, go ahead.
You have acted upon our lives as though we were toys and dolls, dressed us and made us act in ways that you wish. So, what place does a doll have to ask for a different accessory? You have acted as you have seen fit. You will give me something that you see fit. And I will either enjoy it, use it, or destroy it at my whim once I am done with you.
Miss Remmington actually looks hurt.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Well, good for her.
Right. She shakes her head and says, no. Well, to the first part, the former. The latter, we can arrange. I have not manipulated your lives as much as you think I have. I did not.
The effects, the changes you made undeniably had massive impacts.
That I will absolutely take credit for.
There is no difference then.
I certainly concede that it was probably very little effort on your part, but the impacts were significant.
It was a considerable effort in planning to ensure that you ended where you did. But
I'm just not going to let you minimize what you've done.
she kind of leans back, says, I did my very level best to bring you all together, to support me, well, as you've made clear, to support Rilla. The things that happened to you were not by my design, nor my action. And I will not take credit for the tragedies, or what's the opposite of tragedies? Upswings that you may have encountered in these different lives.
As I described, you are a child spinning a top, waiting to see what side it lands on.
These recriminations are really getting us nowhere. It's clear how we feel, and it's clear how you feel. Let's just move forward.
Just take what you can from her.
I'm too.
Yeah, she kind of smirks and actually looks over at Gisela. Did you find some books that you want to borrow? Or, well, I guess in this situation you'll probably just have them. Be hard for you to return them.
Yes.
That can be arranged.
Did also have an idea. I don't know how. Something that could help with the shielding spell that I have on Rilla. I guess at this point I probably would have dropped it because we're.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that this is safe. Something that will let me do that more easily. Or for more people. Like, I want to. I need to write it up and see like what it would actually entail, but like being able to ward more people so that I'm not just having to cast it constantly, right?
Mm-hmm. She smiles. Yeah, that's
a little shielding bauble.
It's quite noble of you, and considerably less self-centered than I knew you to be. It's very odd. But yes, no, that's something that's fairly easy to engineer. And Rilla, like, who's been fairly quiet for this, and she's eating, and just is, I imagine, just by sheer happenstance, is on the other end of the table, right? And just looks up straight at Miss Remmington and says, "I want your soul stone," and then returns back to eating.
Damn.
Miss Remmington looks over. No? Okay. Though you and I need further conversation after yesterday. Actually, that is one other thing that I guess probably may have been noted while everybody was doing stuff. Potentially while Giza was exploring, because I'll just keep pulling on that, is that Rilla and Miss Remington were behind the locked door at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Having a conversation. Cool. And without going too much farther into that, unless anybody else wants a last minute comment, because we'll actually figure out what actual stuff we get. The Chris's is already planned out. And it's very good. Yeah, I think we'll pause here, especially since we're starting to figure out what kind of things we want, and I can figure that out with you all a little bit more off screen. Yeah, and that also means next week is the 3rd, so we should probably be leaving the Astral, which means that on the 10th we should be getting back to Purgatory Bluff, so you can see what's been happening since then. Sure, everything's fine. Nothing's happened. And then, yeah. So, for all you folks at home, thank you for joining us. As always, you can come by... wait, hang on. Before I forget, the 11th week will be when we were playing Trinity Continuum Assassins with Ralph, Chris, Craig, Amanda, and Brenna. We will not have an Ash. So they will be playing in a very John Wick, Hitman, Wanted kind of world. It's a very fun setup. I love the way it's set up. If you enjoyed the John Wick movies, especially, it feels very close to those. If you enjoyed Wanted and Hitman, a little less. Assassin's Creed also, where there's this kind of shadow world where stuff happens around people and they just don't seem to notice. It's very cool, and while they are assassins and they are talented in the ways of killing people, they're not 100% killing focused, which is a nice thing that I saw, because sometimes the contract just says, actually, I need a spy, or I need somebody to get something. Most of the contracts are assassinations, but so we'll be playing through that. It's only a 2-hour game, so come ready for a fast-paced, jump right into it kind of thing. There will be no character creation. There will be no session 0. We're going to basically start off with... Yeah, that's very true. Definitely not on screen. We will be having one, but it will be very kick down the door and we're into it. At least that's the plan. We're going to see if we can jam-pack 2 hours and actually finish, because playing assassins and you get to the spot where it's like, there's the target, the shot is lined up, oh, never mind, we're out of time, bye, be a real letdown. So yeah,
use your imagination, folks.
Yeah,
we'll
true.
see you next time.
This is how it could have happened.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be good. And then the weeks after that, we'll be transitioning off of Mage. We'll be joining the USS Curie and returning back to Star Trek. After
watch it.
Quite an interesting intermission. There's an interlude that Craig was like, oh yeah, so this thing happened, what did you all do? And it's straight out of TOS. It's great.
It's good time.
And then we'll be doing some other stuff before we get back to Mage. We've got a couple things lined up, and our patrons will be voting on what to do next. We have stuff planned out. We're going to do Star Trek, and while that's going, we're going to put up a poll and be like, here are your options, pick one, and that'll be the next one we do. And then we'll have the runner-ups, and we'll do that, and then we'll finally get around back to Mage whenever I feel like I'm actually prepped and ready to get back to these ridiculous shenanigans. As always, if you want to support us, that's patreon.com/occultistanonymous or www.staylucky.club. Support us monetarily. And just to put it out there, $1 a month is like 1,000% more than we get from ad revenue or anything like that off of YouTube or Twitch or anything like that. So if you want to support us and you're like, oh, it's not going to go very far, $1 a month is massively different. And if nothing else, you get to put your name on the list, and
It's very appreciated.
And it is very
At
appreciated.
any dollar amount.
Grateful.
And then, oh yeah, if you want to join us and join the conversation, hang out with us, stuff like that, that's www.yeetinto.space, and come join our Discord. It's a great place to hang out. We even occasionally are visited by the cryptid Dave B, as the previous line developer for Mage. So occasionally, if you don't at him, because we will have problems. Don't do that. But occasionally you may start a discussion and suddenly Dave B shows up and says, well, and provide some insight,
the old
which
man on the sea and the abyss.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And of course, we want to hear about your shows. Well, your shows. If you've got something, as long as you're part of the community, it's cool to share your links to other stuff. But we want to hear about your games. Come hear about Moku's ridiculous space traveling Chronicles of Darkness wackiness that he runs. Noctol Griffin, a bunch of the names that you may have seen, they've got their games. We want to hear your games. It is a-okay to come by and like brag about stuff, even if you're not doing a big full write-up. You can be like, hey, the other night this happened and it was really cool. Bring a screenshot of your like giant die pool that got one success, Chris, or that kind of stuff. We appreciate it. It's fun. Talk about video games, talk about rules, talk about RPGs in general. You do not have to come in to just talk about Chronicles of Darkness. We're playing Star Trek. We played Blades in the Dark. It's very open. Come hang out. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.